Mafia II is a fictional 2010s game set in Empire Bay during the mid-1940s. The game takes you on a slow starting story with 𝐒𝐸𝐚𝐥𝐬, a man returning from the war in hopes of a better life for himself, but also his mother and sister. You go through the game exploring 𝐒𝐸𝐸's life into crime and the Mafia. Throughout the story, you'll get mixed up in various Mafia families and organised crime, all in hopes of experiencing the nicer things in life. The open world game is very linear and won't provide you the 50-hour experience game with many side quests, but will provide you with a 10-hour experience with an interesting story which will keep you hooked and really heats up a few chapters in and provides many twists and turns you wouldn't have expected. Sadly though, for a definitive edition, that released a full 10 years after the original game and itself is now 6 years old. The game hasn't been polished to the levels you'd expect of a modern day remaster and still contains many glitches which at times led to me having to reload the game from the start of the mission or the last checkpoint, which whilst may not seem like a big deal, you wouldn't necessarily expect this from a remastered game and can at times ruin the story's flow. Despite the criticism of the art style, that didn't bother me as much as many others, but this is likely because I went into the game expecting charming older styles, with this game originally released in 2010 and wasn't necessarily looking for something that was graphically amazing. However, in my opinion, at times the overall scenery can be really nice and great to look at. This was my first time playing any of the Mafia games and overall I really enjoyed it. I will confess a few chapters in, I didn't think it was anything to write home about or scream and shout about, but once the story really got going, from the moment Vito ends up in prison, then the story had me a lot more hooked, which did lead to me over Christmas binging the game right up until completion. I don't want to spoil too much more of the story, so I'll try not to talk about it too much, but other than the odd bug where I had to reload the game, I did find the story an easy play, and sadly my only complaint regarding the story is we didn't get more. I've previously mentioned that Empire Bay is an open world, but most of the linear story takes place in the same area of the map and has 0 side quests, which I feel could have made the definitive edition much more worthwhile for returning fans and even new fans to the series like myself to explore each character more in depth. I personally felt we didn't get enough of a story with 𝐒𝐸𝐸's family, and that was a missed opportunity in my opinion for this game to really build a proper story connection with its player base. Combat in this game is very much an example of its time. Melee is basic but nice, really focusing on good counterattacks and dodges to avoid losing a fight. However, shooting is very 50-50, with the damage of each gun varying from fight to fight. This mixed with the fact you cannot seem to take more than 2 good hits before 𝐒𝐸𝐸 is dead can lead to some very frustrating encounters. Although I personally feel this added a bit more realism, and I won't be fully against the point of view, but can see how players may not like this style of combat. When playing through Mafia II, you'll be surprised by just how much licensed music is in this game from the time, and this really adds to the atmosphere the game provides and makes you feel more involved in the 1940s. As someone who loves retro cars, was another added benefit, as you will do a lot of driving in this game and the mechanics are more than adequate, still holding up to the current day of gaming. Driving will also add a lot of humour, with characters whom you drive with questioning you running red lights or speeding.
Did you not see that light turn red?
However, this consistency cannot be said for the cops, who will try pulling you over for speeding, which I like for the realism, but ignore you blatantly going through red lights. So you could be doing 40 for a red light and not gain any attention from the cops, but 60 for a green and they will try chasing you down. Overall, for me, I picked up the Trilogy Edition for $17.99 and I feel to get all 3 games at £6 each is more than worth it and an absolute steal. Mafia II left me more intrigued to play the other games in the franchise, and I don't think that can be overlooked and should be seen as a compliment for the game. Sadly though, I feel Mafia II had a lot more potential to be explored and could have been a truly great game, but from what seems like laziness led to it only settling for just being good.